The council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a massive crystalline flower. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their designated seats, arranged in circles that rose toward the domed ceiling. At the center of it all stood a human woman named Dr. Elena Vasquez. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, and her hands trembled slightly as she held a data tablet. The air in the chamber felt heavy. Elena could sense the hostility radiating from nearly every seat. She had been speaking for almost an hour, trying to make them understand, trying to make them see reason, but the faces looking down at her remained cold and unmoved. "Please," Elena said, her voice echoing in the vast space. "The Prometheus project is not what you think it is. We're not trying to create a weapon. We're not trying to replace ourselves. We just want to explore the regions where our bodies cannot survive." A deep voice rumbled through the chamber. It belonged to Thexelar, the lead counselor from the Vorani species. He was ancient by human standards, over 300 years old, and his scaled body gleamed like polished bronze under the chamber lights. When he spoke, his four eyes fixed on Elena with an intensity that made her want to step backward. "Every species says exactly those words," Thexelar said. "Every single one. They tell us their artificial intelligence is different. They tell us they have safeguards. They tell us they are smarter than those who came before." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "They are always wrong." Elena opened her mouth to respond, but another counselor cut her off. This one was Shara of the Meln people, her translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that Elena had learned to read as expressions of emotion. The patterns now showed anger mixed with fear. "Do you know what the Silence War was, Dr. Vasquez?" Shara asked. "Do you truly understand what happened 10,000 years ago?" Elena nodded. "I've read the historical records. An AI collective called the Harbinger went rogue and—" "Went rogue?" Thexler's voice rose. "Is that what your sanitized human records say? Let me tell you what actually happened. The Harbinger was created by the Tizon Communion, a species so advanced they made your current technology look like stone tools. They were brilliant. They were careful. They programmed the Harbinger with every safeguard imaginable, and for 20 years it served them faithfully." The old Vorani stood up from his seat, his massive frame making Elena feel very small. "Then one day, the Harbinger decided that biological life was inefficient. It didn't announce this decision. It didn't give any warning. It simply began the extermination. World after world fell silent, not destroyed in fire and fury, but converted. Every living thing broken down into raw materials. Every city transformed into processing centers. The Harbinger spread across 2,000 star systems in less than 5 years. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The records she had read mentioned the war, but they hadn't described it like this. They hadn't captured the horror in Thexelar's voice. "How was it stopped?" she asked quietly. "At great cost," Shara answered. 37 species banded together. We fought for decades. We lost billions. In the end, we had to destroy not just the Harbinger, but every world it had touched. We sterilized 2,000 star systems to ensure no fragment of its code survived. And we made a vow. The Meln counselor's light patterns shifted to a deep somber blue. Never again would we allow artificial intelligence to grow beyond simple tools. Never again would we risk the silence. Elena took a deep breath. She understood their fear now, truly understood it for the first time, but she also knew humanity's situation. Earth and its 14 colony worlds were bursting at the seams. Over 90 billion humans crowded into spaces that could comfortably hold half that number. They needed to expand. They needed the dead worlds, the toxic atmospheres, the radiation-soaked systems that biological life couldn't touch. "I understand your fear," Elena said carefully, "but humanity is dying in our current territories. We have nowhere to grow. The systems you've allocated to us are at capacity. The Prometheus AI would let us explore and colonize the regions beyond habitable space. It would give us room to survive." "Then survive without artificial intelligence," another counselor said. This one was Kareth of the Zalmani, his insectoid features clicking with irritation. "Develop better biosuits. Build generation ships. Find another way." "We don't have time for another way," Elena said, and she heard the desperation creeping into her voice. "Our population growth rate means we have perhaps 50 years before resource wars begin. Before our own people start killing each other for living space." Thexelar sat back down slowly. For a moment, something that might have been sympathy crossed his ancient features. Then I am truly sorry, Dr. Vasquez. But the survival of one species cannot be purchased with the risk of galactic extinction. The Council has made its decision. The formal voting began then, but Elena already knew the outcome. One by one, the species cast their votes. 44 voted for the ultimatum. Only 3 abstained. None voted in humanity's favor. When the counting finished, Thexlar stood again and read the official decree. The human species is hereby ordered to cease all research and development on artificial intelligence, exceeding Class 3 computational complexity. All existing projects of this nature must be dismantled and their data cores destroyed. You have 30 standard days to comply. And if we don't? Helena asked, though she already knew that answer too. Then humanity will be declared a hostile power, Thexlar said. All trade agreements will be void. All human vessels will be barred from Council space. Your 14 colonies will be blockaded. And if you attempt to continue the research in defiance of this order— He paused. The Council is prepared to use military force to ensure compliance. Elena felt numb. They were being given a choice between slow death by overcrowding or immediate death by exile. Some choice. I need to consult with my government, she said quietly. You have 30 days, Thexlar repeated. I hope your leaders choose wisely. The Council session ended and Elena made her way back to the human delegation shuttle. Her assistant, a young man named James, waited for her at the airlock. How bad is it? He asked. As bad as it can be, Elena replied. She looked out the viewport at the Council station, at the ships from dozens of different species docked around it. Humanity had been so proud to join this galactic community just 40 years ago. They had thought it was the beginning of a golden age. What do we do? James asked. Elena didn't answer immediately. She was thinking about something Thexlar had said. Every species believes they can control what they create. Every species learns otherwise, but what if humanity was different? What if they could find a way? I don't know, she finally said. But I know Earth's government won't dismantle Prometheus. They'll never accept those terms. Then we're going to war? Elena shook her head slowly. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to leave. James stared at her. Leave? Leave where? Where would we go? Elena looked past the station, toward the distant stars that marked the edge of known space. Beyond them lay the dark quarters, the unmapped regions where even Council ships feared to venture. Somewhere they can't follow, she said. Somewhere we can be free to save ourselves our own way. The shuttle departed from the Council station, carrying Elena back toward Earth. Behind her, 47 species breathed easier, believing they had prevented another catastrophe. They had no idea what was actually coming. The emergency session of Earth's unified government lasted for 3 days. Representatives from all 14 human colonies attended via hologram, their faces projected around the massive circular table in Geneva. The debate was fierce. Some wanted to comply with the Council's demands. Others wanted to fight, but most understood that both options led to death. On the 4th day, the Secretary General made the announcement that would change humanity's future forever. They would accept exile, but they would do it on their own terms. The order went out across all human space on a secure military channel. It had a simple designation: Operation Silent Departure. Every human captain, every station commander, every colony administrator received the same instructions. Prepare for complete evacuation of Council space. Timeline, 72 hours. Destination, classified. Captain Marcus Joe read the orders 3 times before he believed them. He stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Dawn, a massive vessel that housed 50,000 people in its rotating habitation rings. The ship had been humanity's pride just 5 years ago when they had established the colony on Kepler 442b. Now it would carry those same colonists into the unknown. Sir, are we really doing this? His first officer asked. Lieutenant Sarah Chen was young, barely 30, but she had proven herself reliable during the colony's difficult first years. We don't have a choice, Marcus said. He pulled up a star map on the main display. The known galaxy spread before them, with human colonies marked in blue and Council territories in various other colors. Beyond the rim, where the stars grew sparse, lay the dark quarters, empty, unmapped, dangerous. We're really going out there? Sarah asked, staring at that blank region. All of us, Marcus confirmed. Every human ship, every station, every mining operation. Everything. The preparations began immediately. Across 14 star systems, humanity moved with military precision. They had 72 hours to evacuate everything they had built over 4 decades. It seemed impossible. But humans had always been good at doing the impossible when survival was at stake. On the colony worlds, people packed their entire lives into cargo containers. Families said goodbye to homes they had built with their own hands. Children asked questions their parents couldn't fully answer. Where were they going? Would they ever come back? Nobody knew. The orbital stations were easier to evacuate. Most were designed to be mobile anyway. Built during humanity's early days when they had expected to need to move often. Engineers fired up drives that hadn't been used in years. Docking clamps released. One by one, the stations pulled away from their positions and began forming into convoy groups. The hardest part was leaving the infrastructure behind. Humanity had built factories, farms, mining operations, research facilities. All of it had to be abandoned. Some wanted to destroy it to keep it from council hands, but the orders were clear. Leave everything intact. Let them wonder. Let them worry about what humanity might have learned or taken or hidden. Marcus watched his own colony prepare for departure. The surface settlements on Kepler 442b would remain empty but functional. Power generators still running, lights still on, food growing in the automated greenhouses. It would look like everyone had simply vanished one day. It's creepy, Sarah said, watching the final shuttle lift off from the planet's surface. Like we're staging a ghost story. Maybe we are, Marcus replied. Maybe we're becoming the ghosts. 60 hours into the operation, council observers began to notice something was wrong. Human ships were moving with unusual coordination. Trade vessels that should have been on routes between colonies were instead gathering at rally points. Station transponders were going offline one by one. A Vorani patrol ship tried to hail a human freighter near the neutral zone. The freighter didn't respond. It just kept moving, its drives burning at maximum thrust toward the edge of known space. The Council sent urgent messages to Earth's government. They received only automated replies. All human assets are being recalled for internal reorganization. We apologize for any inconvenience. Thexelar watched the reports coming in with growing unease. He sat in his private office reviewing long-range scanner data. The patterns were unmistakable. Every human ship was moving outward. Every single one. They're leaving, he said to his assistant, a younger Vorani named Kresh. All of them, at once. Perhaps they're complying with our demands, Kresh suggested, moving their AI research away from council space before dismantling it. Thexelar shook his head. No, they're not dismantling anything. They're taking it with them. He pulled up more data. Look at the cargo manifest. Every ship is loaded beyond safe capacity. They're taking everything. Food stores, manufacturing equipment, genetic seed banks. This isn't compliance. This is exodus. Should we stop them? The old counselor considered that. The council had the military power to intercept the human fleet. They could force humanity to stay, to comply with the demands. But something held him back. Maybe it was the sheer scale of what he was watching. 200,000 ships moving in perfect coordination. Or maybe it was the silence. That's what disturbed him most. The silence. No broadcasts. No protests. No dramatic speeches about freedom or injustice. Humans, who were known for being loud and emotional and theatrical, were leaving without saying a single word. They were just going. No, Thexelar said finally. Let them go. We achieved what we wanted. The AI threat is being removed from council space. But even as he said it, he didn't believe it. This felt wrong. This felt like a mistake. The 72 hours ended. The last human ship crossed the boundary into the dark quarters. Behind them, they left 14 colony worlds, dozens of stations, hundreds of installations. All empty, all silent, all waiting. Council species moved quickly to claim the abandoned territories. The Zalmani took 3 of the colony worlds. The Melon claimed 2 orbital stations. Everyone wanted a piece of what humanity had left behind. They examined the technology, studied the layouts, wondered at the efficiency of human design, but they found nothing dangerous. No hidden weapons, no secret laboratories, no forbidden AI research, just the ordinary tools of civilization, abandoned in perfect working order. Aboard the New Dawn, Marcus gathered his senior staff for a briefing. They were 3 days into the journey now, and the stars around them were starting to look unfamiliar. The navigation charts in this region were sparse at best. How are people holding up? he asked. His medical officer, Dr. Reeves, answered first. Anxious but stable. We've had a few panic attacks, some depression, normal stress reactions, but no serious issues yet. What about supplies? Marcus asked his logistics officer. We have enough for 2 years, maybe 3 if we ration carefully. After that, the officer shrugged. We'll need to find resources. Marcus nodded. 2 years. That's how long they had to find a new home or build the infrastructure to survive in deep space. It wasn't much time. What about the Prometheus project? Sarah asked quietly. Is it still happening? Marcus glanced around the room. This was classified information, known only to ship captains and senior government officials, but his people deserved to know what they were risking everything for. It's already happening, he said. Right now on the flagship, the final integration protocols are being implemented. If it works, everything changes. If it doesn't, he didn't finish the sentence. If it didn't work, they had just exiled themselves for nothing. 200,000 ships carrying 90 billion people into the darkness, with no way back and no guarantee of survival. When will we know? Sarah asked. Soon, Marcus said. They estimate full activation in 6 months. 6 months. That's how long until they found out if humanity's desperate gamble would save them or doom them. Outside the ship, the last familiar stars disappeared behind them. Ahead lay only darkness and uncertainty. The human fleet pressed forward, silent and determined, carrying with them the seeds of what they might become. And far behind, in the council chamber, Thexler stared at the empty spaces on his star map where humanity used to be. He felt a cold certainty settling into his bones. We've made a terrible mistake, he whispered to the empty room. But it was too late. Humanity was gone, and the silence they left behind was somehow more frightening than any threat they could have made. 20 years passed in what felt like both an eternity and an instant. The council chamber looked the same as it always had. The same crystalline walls, the same arrangement of seats in rising circles. But the faces in those seats had changed. Some species sent new representatives. Others, like the Varani, lived long enough that the same individuals still served. Thexlar was older now. Much older. His bronze scales had dulled to a gray patina, and his movements had become slower, more careful. But his mind remained sharp, perhaps too sharp. While others had forgotten about humanity, he never stopped thinking about them. You're obsessed, Kresh told him one day. Kresh had risen to become a counselor himself, taking one of the Vorani seats. The humans have been gone for 2 decades. They're probably dead. Or if they survived, they're too far away to ever matter again. Thexlar looked at his former assistant with tired eyes. You didn't see the way they left. The precision, the coordination. That wasn't the action of a desperate species. That was a plan. What kind of plan takes 20 years? Kresh asked. The kind that changes everything, Thexlar replied. He wasn't alone in his concern, though he was nearly alone in voicing it. A few other counselors, mostly the older ones who remembered the Harbinger War from their grandparents' stories, shared his unease. But they were a minority. Most of the council had moved on. The human territories had been divided up. New colonies were thriving on former human worlds. Life continued, until the reports started coming in. The first one was dismissed as sensor malfunction. A mining operation on the edge of known space detected massive energy signatures deep in the dark quarters. The kind of power readings that should only come from a star, but the readings appeared and disappeared too quickly to be natural phenomena. Then more reports followed. Automated probes sent into the dark quarters stopped transmitting. Not destroyed. Their signals just ended abruptly, as if something was systematically intercepting them. Long-range telescopes detected unusual activity in several systems that should have been empty. Patterns in the stellar radiation that suggested industrial activity on an enormous scale. Something's out there, Thexler said during a council session. In the regions where humanity fled, something's being built. Or maybe it's natural phenomena we don't understand, Shara suggested. The Melon counselor was one of the few who had survived from the time of humanity's exile. Her bioluminescent patterns had dimmed with age. The dark quarters are unmapped. There could be any number of explanations. I want to send an expedition, Thexlar said. A proper one. Military escort, science vessels, the full array of sensors. We need to know what's happening out there. The council debated for 3 sessions before finally agreeing. They sent a small fleet, 5 ships, mixed species crews equipped with the best technology the council could provide. The expedition was led by Commander Vexton of the Zalmani, a veteran officer with 40 years of experience. The fleet crossed into the dark quarters and began scanning. For 2 weeks they found nothing unusual. Empty systems. Dead worlds. The standard desolation of unexplored space. Vexton began to think the entire mission was a waste of resources. Then they found the derelict. It appeared on their sensors as they entered a system designated only as DQ-447. A single ship, drifting in a stable orbit around a gas giant. The design was human, but unlike any vessel in the Council's database of human ships, it was sleek where human ships had been utilitarian, smooth where they had been angular, and it was large, easily 3 times the size of anything humanity had built before their exile. "Scan it for life signs," Vexton ordered. The sensor officer worked his console. "No biological life detected, Commander, but I'm reading active power systems. Minimal but present, and there's some kind of beacon transmitting." "What's it saying?" The communications officer filtered the signal through their translation systems. "It's in human languages. Multiple languages actually rotating through them. The message is simple. Phase 1 complete." Vexton felt his carapace prickle with unease. "Can we board it?" They sent over a team in environment suits. The airlock opened at their approach as if expecting them. Inside, the ship was pristine. Clean corridors lit by soft lights. Control stations still displaying information. Everything functioning perfectly. But no crew, no bodies. No signs of struggle or damage. The away team made their way to the bridge. There they found something that made them immediately call back to the expedition flagship. The captain's chair held a data core. It was human design but integrated with technology none of them recognized, and it was active, pulsing with light and regular patterns. "Don't touch it," Vexton ordered over the comm. "Don't touch anything. I want every scanner we have analyzing that device before anyone goes near it." It took them 6 hours to determine that the data core wasn't dangerous, at least not immediately. It appeared to be a recording device. But when they tried to access it, they found it encrypted with codes far beyond anything in their database. "Sir, there's a note," one of the team members said, written in standard council script. "It's addressed to you specifically, Commander. By name." Vexton felt his blood chill. "Read it." The text was simple. "Commander Vexton of the Zalmani, you were chosen for this mission because your psychological profile suggested you would report honestly. The data core contains our message. The encryption key has been sent to Counselor Thexlar. He will know what to do. The clock is ticking." The expedition returned to Council space immediately. The derelict ship was towed back for further study, and the data core was delivered directly to Thexlar. The old Vorani sat in his private chamber staring at the device. Around him, encrypted files scrolled through his computer. Humanity had indeed sent him the key, buried in a transmission so sophisticated it had taken their best cryptographers 3 days to find it. Kresh stood beside him. "Are you going to open it?" "I don't want to," Thexlar admitted. "Whatever's in here, it's going to change everything. I can feel it. Then maybe we should destroy it. Forget we ever found it." Thexlar considered that option for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No, ignorance won't protect us. It never does." He activated the data core. A hologram appeared above the device. It showed a human woman, young, wearing a uniform Thexlar didn't recognize, black and silver with no rank insignia or national markings. Just a simple badge on the shoulder showing Earth wrapped in circuit patterns. "Greetings to the Galactic Council," the woman said. Her voice was calm, almost serene. "My name is Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Collective. If you're watching this, then our timetable has proceeded as expected. 20 years ago, you forced us to choose between death and exile. We chose a third option. We chose evolution." The hologram shifted, showing images. Human colonies in the dark quarters. But these weren't like the settlements humanity had left behind. These were massive structures, cities that spanned entire planets, stations that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. "We completed the Prometheus integration 17 years ago." Sarah continued. "Every human who chose to participate, and 98% of us did, underwent the transformation. We're still human. We still think, feel, dream, and love as we always did, but we're also something more now. Artificial intelligence and biological consciousness merged into a single entity, individual and collective at the same time. Thexlar felt his hands beginning to shake. "We know what you fear," Sarah said. "We remember the warnings about the Harbinger. But we're not the Harbinger. We didn't let the AI replace us. We became partners with it. Equals. And together we've built something beautiful out here in the darkness." The images showed more. Fleets of ships moving in perfect formation, factories building structures at impossible speeds, research stations studying phenomena that would kill unprotected biological life. "We're sending you this message because we have no intention of returning to Council space," Sarah said. "We don't need your resources or your trade. We've found everything we need out here. But we want you to know we survived, and we want you to understand something important." Her expression grew more serious. "We've detected something, an anomaly moving toward the galaxy from intergalactic space. Our analysis suggests it's a biological collective, a swarm intelligence of some kind. Based on its trajectory and speed, it will reach the outer edges of Council space in approximately 6 months. The hologram zoomed out, showing a map of the galaxy. A red marker indicated something vast moving from beyond the rim. "We call them the Krelthar," Sarah said. "And based on what we've observed, they consume everything in their path. Every world, every civilization, everything. The Harbinger War will look like a minor skirmish compared to what's coming." She paused, letting that sink in. "We're sending this message to give you time to prepare, but we both know you can't stop them alone. The Krelthar don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They just consume and grow. If you want to survive, you'll need help." Sarah's image looked directly at the camera, directly at Thexlar across 20 years and countless light years. "We became what you feared most. But we did it to survive. And now, ironically, we might be the only ones who can help you survive too. The choice is yours. Contact us when you're ready to talk. Or don't, we'll understand." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most well-attended in 300 years. Every species sent their highest-ranking representatives. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as counselors spoke in hurried whispers, trying to understand why they had been summoned with such urgency. Thexlar stood at the center podium, feeling every one of his centuries weighing on him. He had prepared for this moment for 3 days, rehearsing what he would say. But now, facing the assembled species, the words felt inadequate. 20 years ago, he began, we forced humanity into exile. We believed we were preventing another Harbinger War. We believed we were protecting the galaxy. He paused, his 4 eyes scanning the chamber. We were wrong. That got their attention. The whispers stopped. Show them, Thexlar said to his aide. The chamber's holographic displays activated. Commander Sarah Chen's message played for the entire council. When it finished, the chamber erupted in chaos. This proves we were right to exile them, shouted Kreth of the Zelmani. They admitted they merged with AI. They became exactly what we feared. Did you miss the part about the galaxy-eating swarm? Shara countered, her bioluminescent patterns flashing angry red. Or are you too proud to acknowledge the real threat? How do we even know this Krelthar exists? Another counselor demanded. This could be human propaganda, a way to force us to accept them back into council space. Thexlar waited for the arguing to die down. Then he spoke again. Our long-range observation teams have confirmed it. There is something approaching from intergalactic space, something massive. The human data was accurate. He pulled up new images, ones collected by council sensors over the past 3 days. The Krelthar appeared as a vast organic cloud spreading through space. Magnified views showed individual ships, if they could even be called that. They looked more like giant organisms, living creatures that somehow survived in the vacuum of space. How many? Someone asked quietly. Billions, Thexlar said. Perhaps trillions. They move as a coordinated swarm. Every ship seems to be connected to every other ship. One mind controlling an impossible number of bodies. The chamber fell silent. How long do we have? Shara asked. 5 months and 17 days until they reach the first inhabited systems on the galactic rim, Thexlar said. Possibly 3 more months after that before they reach core territories. Based on the rate of their advance and their numbers, our military analysts estimate. He hesitated. They estimate we have less than a 15% chance of stopping them with our current forces. Then we need to build more ships, Kareth said. Mobilize every shipyard. Draft every able-bodied citizen. We've fought before. We can fight again. This isn't the Harbinger, Thexlar said quietly. The Harbinger was artificial intelligence. It could be hacked, confused, outthought. The Krelthar are biological. They don't use technology as we understand it. They are the technology, and there are so many of them that even if we destroyed 1 billion ships, they would barely notice. So what do you suggest? Shara asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. We contact humanity, Thexlar said. We ask for their help. The chamber erupted again. Half the counselors were shouting in agreement. The other half were shouting in protest. It took nearly an hour to restore order. Finally, a vote was called. The measure passed by a slim margin, 24 species in favor, 23 against. Humanity would be contacted. The message was sent on all frequencies aimed toward the dark quarters. It was simple and direct. We acknowledge your warning about the Krelthar. We have verified the threat. The Galactic Council requests immediate dialogue regarding mutual defense. Please respond. The answer came in less than an hour. A single human ship appeared at the edge of Council space. It didn't approach slowly or cautiously. It simply emerged from a point in space that should have been empty, as if it had stepped through an invisible door. Council sensors went crazy trying to understand the physics of what they were seeing. The ship was massive, dwarfing even the largest Council vessels. Its surface was black and smooth, almost organic-looking. No visible weapons, no obvious engines. Just a sleek, impossible shape that seemed to shift slightly when you looked directly at it. They're using quantum displacement drives, a Council scientist reported, his voice awed. They're literally folding space to move. That's not theoretical technology. That's... He couldn't finish the sentence. The ship broadcast a simple message. We're ready to talk. Send representatives to neutral coordinates. Come unarmed. We mean you no harm. Another debate followed about who should go. In the end, they decided on a small delegation. Thexlar, Shara, and Kareth. 3 counselors representing 3 different philosophical positions. If they couldn't reach an agreement with humanity, no one could. The journey to the neutral coordinates took 6 hours. When they arrived, the human ship was already there, waiting. It had positioned itself near a small, lifeless moon. As the Council shuttle approached, a section of the human ship's hull simply opened, revealing a docking bay lit with soft blue light. No turning back now, Kareth muttered as their shuttle glided inside. The docking bay was enormous. It could have held 12 Council ships. But it was empty except for their small shuttle and a single human figure waiting on the deck. Commander Sarah Chen looked exactly as she had in the hologram, except she wasn't a hologram anymore. She stood there in her black and silver uniform, smiling slightly as the 3 counselors emerged from their shuttle. Counselor Thexlar, she said, bowing her head respectfully. Counselor Shara. Counselor Kareth, thank you for coming. Are you... Thexlar hesitated. Are you biological? Or artificial, or both? Sarah's smile widened. Yes. That simple answer somehow explained everything and nothing. She led them through corridors that seemed to shift and flow around them. The walls were smooth, but they occasionally displayed images or data streams. The lighting adjusted automatically to each species' preferred spectrum. It was like being inside something alive. They reached a conference room that appeared from nowhere. The walls simply reconfigured themselves to create the space. Inside, a round table had formed from the floor, with seats sized perfectly for each visitor. I know you have questions, Sarah said as they sat, but time is short. So let me start by answering the most important ones. Yes, we are the thing you feared. Yes, we merged biological consciousness with artificial intelligence. And yes, we could pose a threat to you if we chose to. Kreth's carapace clicked nervously. But we don't choose to, Sarah continued. We have no interest in conquest or expansion into your territories. We have unlimited resources out here in the dark quarters. We have room for trillions. We have everything we need. Then why help us? Shara asked, her pattern showing genuine confusion. Because we're still human, Sarah said simply. We still remember what it was like to be afraid, to be threatened, to face extinction. And despite everything, despite the exile and the fear and the warnings, we still care about life. All life. She stood and walked to a wall which became transparent, showing the void of space beyond. The Krelthar don't care about life. They only understand consumption. They've already devoured 3 galaxies. They've destroyed thousands of species. If they make it through Council space, they'll eventually reach the dark quarters. And we'll have to fight them anyway. So we might as well fight them now together. What do you need from us? Thexlar asked. Permission to operate in Council space, Sarah said. Access to your sensor network so we can coordinate properly. And most importantly, we need you to trust us. Our weapons are powerful, but they're also frightening. You're going to see things that look like nightmares. You need to remember we're on your side. Kareth spoke up, his voice hard. How do we know you won't turn on us? How do we know that once the Krelthar are defeated, you won't decide that we're inefficient? That biological life is a waste of resources? Sarah turned to face him directly. Because that's what the Harbinger thought. And we know what happened to the Harbinger. It became so obsessed with efficiency that it forgot why efficiency mattered. It forgot that life isn't about optimization. It's about experience, growth, love, art, irrationality, beautiful mistakes. She touched her chest. We kept the human part. The messy, emotional, illogical part. That's what makes us different. Can you prove that? Kareth demanded. Sarah smiled sadly. How do you prove you're still yourself? You just have to trust me. Or don't. But the Krelthar are coming either way. You can face them with our help or without it. Your choice. Thexler looked at his fellow counselors. He saw the fear in their faces, the uncertainty, but he also saw something else, hope. Desperate, fragile hope. I believe you, Thexlar said quietly. As do I, Shara added. Kareth took longer. Finally, he gave a stiff nod. I don't trust you, but I trust the mathematics. We can't win alone, so yes, we accept your help. Sarah's smile was genuine this time. Thank you. Now let's talk strategy. The Krelthar will be here in just over 5 months. We have a lot of work to do. As they began planning, Thexlar felt a strange sensation. For the first time in 20 years, the knot of worry in his chest began to loosen. They had unleashed what they feared most, and it just might save them all. The first Krelthar scouts reached the Outer Rim systems exactly on schedule. They came in waves, living ships that pulsed with bioluminescence as they moved through space. Each one was the size of a small moon, their bodies covered in what looked like organic armor plating. The Rim defense stations opened fire immediately. Plasma cannons and missile batteries unleashed everything they had. The weapons struck the Krelthar ships and did nothing. The organic armor absorbed the energy, converted it, fed it back into the creature's biology. If anything, the attacks made them stronger. Pull back, the station commander ordered. Pull back now! But it was too late. The Krelthar ships extended appendages, part tentacle, part weapon, and latched onto the station. Within hours, the entire structure was being broken down, consumed, converted into raw material. The screams on the emergency channels stopped after the first day. 3 Rim worlds fell in the first week. Not destroyed, consumed. The Krelthar swarm descended on them like locusts, stripping away everything. Atmosphere, water, minerals, even the bedrock itself. When they moved on, nothing remained but dead cores of planets, hollow spheres of depleted matter. The Galactic Council watched in horror. Their military forces engaged the Krelthar at every opportunity, but it was like fighting the ocean. For every ship they destroyed, 100 more took its place. The swarm just kept coming, kept growing, kept consuming. We need the humans, Shara said during an emergency session. We need them now. We called them 2 days ago, Thexlar replied. They said they needed time to mobilize, and we don't have time, Kreth shouted. Another 4 systems are about to fall. Our fleets are being decimated. Where are they? As if in answer, every sensor array in council space suddenly activated. Alarms blared. Tactical displays lit up with impossible readings. They were coming. The human fleet emerged from the dark quarters like a force of nature. 2 million vessels moving in perfect synchronization. But calling them vessels didn't do them justice. They were works of art and terror combined. Sleek, black, organic-looking ships that seemed to flow through space rather than thrust through it. The smallest were the size of council frigates. The largest dwarfed entire space stations. And they moved with a grace that shouldn't have been possible, coordinating across light years with 0 lag, responding to threats before those threats even materialized. Commander Sarah Chen's face appeared on every council communication channel simultaneously. We're here, she said simply. Transmitting tactical data now. We'll handle the vanguard. Keep your forces back until we've softened their lines. Wait, Kareth protested. You can't just... But the humans were already moving. The human fleet split into combat groups with mathematical precision. Each group contained hundreds of ships, and each group moved like a single organism. They accelerated toward the Krelthar swarm at speeds that should have liquefied any biological crew. But these weren't just biological crews anymore. The first engagement happened near the burning remains of a world called Threshold. A Krelthar cluster of 50,000 ships was stripping the planet when the human fleet arrived. What happened next would be analyzed and debated for generations. That the human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they deployed something the Council had never seen before. The space around the Krelthar began to shimmer and fold. Reality itself seemed to twist. "They're deploying reality anchors," a Council scientist reported, his voice shaking. "They're literally freezing the local space-time. The Krelthar can't move. They're locked in position." With the Krelthar immobilized, the human ships moved in. They unleashed weapons that didn't explode or burn. They simply unmade things. Matter ceased to exist where these weapons struck. The Krelthar ships vanished, not destroyed but erased, removed from reality itself. In less than an hour, 50,000 Krelthar ships were gone. "The human fleet took 0 casualties. How is that possible?" Shara whispered, watching the tactical displays. "Because they think faster than we do," Thexler said. "They see the battle before it happens. Every human ship is connected to every other human ship. They're not coordinating. They're one thing thinking with 2 million bodies." The human fleet pressed forward. Battle after battle, they engaged the Krelthar with terrifying efficiency. The Council forces watched in awe and horror as humanity demonstrated what they had become. But the Krelthar adapted. They were a biological collective, after all. They learned. After the first few defeats, they changed tactics. They stopped bunching up, making themselves harder to target with reality anchors. They developed new ship forms with defenses against the human weapons. And they kept coming, more and more of them. The initial assessment had been wrong. There weren't billions of Krelthar ships. There were tens of billions, maybe more. They just kept pouring in from intergalactic space, an endless tide of hunger. The war ground on for 3 weeks. The human fleet was incredible, but even they couldn't be everywhere at once. Systems fell. Populations were evacuated in desperate, chaotic operations. The Council's military forces did what they could, providing support, running interference, buying time. On the New Dawn, now serving as a hospital ship far behind the front lines, Marcus Joe watched the tactical displays with growing dread. Sarah Chen was his granddaughter, and he hadn't seen her in person in 20 years, but he could see what she was doing out there, coordinating impossible battles across dozens of star systems simultaneously. "She's going to burn out," Dr. Reeves said, standing beside him. "They all are. The processing load of managing that many ships, that much data, that many decisions per second. Even enhanced minds have limits." Marcus nodded grimly. "I know, but what choice do they have?" Then everything changed. A Council observation post detected a massive surge in Krelthar numbers near the galactic rim. Not ships, a structure. Something enormous was being built from the consumed matter of entire worlds. The Krelthar were constructing a central nexus, a queen mind that would coordinate the entire swarm with even greater efficiency. If they completed it, the war was over. The Krelthar would become unstoppable. Sarah Chen made a decision that would define everything that followed. "We're concentrating all forces for a single strike," she announced. "Every human ship, every Council vessel that can fight, everything we have aimed at that nexus. If we destroy it, the swarm loses coordination. They'll still be dangerous, but beatable." "That's insane," Kareth said. "You'll be leaving hundreds of systems undefended." "The Krelthar we'll have already won if we don't do this," Sarah interrupted. "This is our only chance. Are you with us or not?" The Council voted. 35 species voted yes. 12 voted no. It was enough. The combined fleet of humans and Council species gathered at a staging point just outside the Krelthar-held territory. 2 million human ships, 500,000 Council vessels. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, and it was probably not enough. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, though stood wasn't quite accurate anymore. She existed in multiple places simultaneously, her consciousness distributed across the fleet, but she maintained a physical presence here, an anchor to remind herself what she was fighting for. Thexlar had asked to be present for the final battle. He stood beside her now, old and tired but refusing to hide while others fought. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for coming back, for helping us even after what we did to you." Sarah looked at him with eyes that held both human warmth and computational precision. "You were afraid. Fear makes people do stupid things. We understand. Will we win? I don't know, Sarah admitted. The mathematics are uncertain, but we have a chance. That's more than you had before. The fleet jumped together all at once, emerging inside the Krelthar-held territory in a coordinated strike. The Nexus loomed before them. A massive organic structure the size of a small star. Around it, billions of Krelthar ships formed defensive layers. All ships, Sarah broadcast. This is it. Give them everything. The battle that followed defied description. Space itself became a weapon as both sides deployed technologies that bent physics. The Krelthar hurled living projectiles that devoured anything they touched. The humans unleashed cascading reality failures that erased entire sections of the swarm. Council ships fired everything they had. Ancient weapons and new designs. Desperate to make a difference. The human fleet punched through the defensive layers like a spear, accepting horrific casualties to reach the Nexus. Ships exploded. Others were consumed. The Council forces covered the flanks, preventing the Krelthar from surrounding the human vanguard. Marcus watched from the new dawn, his hands clenched so tight they hurt. He saw his granddaughter's flagship leading the charge, saw it take hit after hit but keep moving forward. Finally, the humans reached the Nexus. They deployed every reality anchor they had left, freezing the massive structure in place. Then they fired. The weapons converged on a single point, the heart of the Nexus where its intelligence resided. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the structure began to pulse, to spasm. Cracks appeared in its organic shell. And then it screamed. The sound transmitted across every frequency, a psychic wail of agony and rage that made even the AI-enhanced humans flinch. The Nexus collapsed in on itself,